Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, that subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And it's, oh hold on a sec, Pet Text Tuesday. Sorry, I have too much fun with that. And if you'd like to share your pet text, don't forget to send me a message over on Twitter at Narrations with a picture of your doggo, catto, or whatever pet it is with the hashtag PetTextTuesday, and I'll try and include it in the next episode. And with all the fluff out of the way, my cheeky so-and-sos, let's dive in to today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, today's first story comes from Throw Doubts. It does have an update. And the first part is pretty short, so we'll jump straight into the update after. And it says, I, 37 male, just discovered that my wife, 37 female, has a hotel reservation at a place downtown tonight when I'm supposed to be with my friends. While using my wife's iPad, I saw an email confirmation for a hotel reservation downtown. Tonight, I am supposed to be hanging out with some friends. I've been having some suspicions lately for other reasons, including a nightie on the laundry after a recent business trip that I've never seen her wear. She kissed me goodbye this morning like usual, but didn't take any luggage or anything, not even an overnight bag that I noticed. Not certain what to do. Any advice? I've been thinking of leaving work early and hanging out in the lobby/nearby cafe, but I'm not certain it's a good idea. And a brief overview of the comments was basically saying try to catch her in the act. Otherwise it could be denied or reasons made up or various other things like that. So then the update went on to say, so I went to the hotel. You may think I'm an idiot. You may think it's a nice ending. To tell the truth, it's not totally over yet. But it's in a good place because at least I can see possible finish lines. I'm going to be vague about some specifics just to be safe. I left work early and started driving to the hotel. It was well before the scheduled check-in time and she's not the type to ever skip work, so I figured I'd probably see her in the lobby when she came to check in. I did take the advice about texting her about going to dinner. She responded after a while and said she was good for dinner but would be home only a little later than normal as she had an errand to run. The errand was 100% believable and in character and the extra time was appropriate for the errand. I knew there was no way I would ever get a room number from anyone who worked there. Come on people, that was never going to happen, but I knew they'd put me through if I asked for a room. Email said the reservation was in her name. I called and they put me right through. I hung up before it rang though, since I wasn't actually there yet, but that was confirmation that the reservation was real and she was there. Since she was already there in the middle of the day, which as mentioned was weird to me since she's too much of a workaholic to not be working, but hey, this whole situation is abnormal, so whatever. I figured that they were already fucking and would be done relatively soon, especially if she was going to have dinner and run this errand. I got some coffee and camped out in a good spot in the lobby and time passed and nothing. After about an hour I said fuck it and called back to the hotel from the lobby and asked for her room again. She answered. When I mentioned it was me, she didn't seem surprised or anything. I asked what she was doing at the hotel. No, the question is, what are you doing here? And she was a bit evasive but gave me a room number pretty quickly. As soon as she answered, I was picking up my stuff and made for the elevators. Actually, she gave me the floor number pretty fast, but not the room. So I was already on the floor within about 30 seconds of her answering. Then I got the full number. If there was someone trying to sneak out, there was a very small window of about 10 to 15 seconds where we might have crossed in the elevators. The whole time we're talking. Me mainly asking what is going on and she says she came here to work. In a hotel room. She replied yes, I needed to get away. I go to the room. She's there waiting for me, looking puzzled. You surprised to see me? No, well kinda. Honestly, she did seem more bewildered than guilty. So we go in. And nothing. Just a work computer, up and running and online, and a bunch of work papers. A planner, a notebook, spread out on the table and desk, room service for one on the counter, one glass of ice water on the tray, one bottle of wine, partially drunk, one glass for the wine, one hand towel used in the bathroom, seat down. No yelling either. Some exasperation on her part, some slight offense that I thought something might be going on. To prove it was just her, she opened up all her bags and showed me everything she brought with her. Workout clothes for the hotel workout center. She always loved those. Casual clothes for running the errand. She asked what I thought was going on. I told her how suspicious everything looks, which she agreed. Anyway, one part I left out of the description is that we've been having some issues lately. Nothing bad per se, just more the 7-year itch, where we both agree that we can both see and not see ourselves with the other person forever. We talked about that. She talked about how much she needs some alone time, which she hasn't been getting at home these past few months. None of which is new, and there was one day she was having a bad time and this deal came up on email, so she decided to take it and treat herself. But we both talked. We both talked about the issues we have with ourselves and each other. Getting a hotel room so she can be by herself all day while working is exactly in character for the woman I've known these past 10 years. Fucking around is not. Maybe she dodged a bullet and pulled a fast one on me. Maybe not. I don't really care about how others think about that. We're not calling divorce lawyers right now, but we're not planning our 25th anniversary trip either. It honestly could go either way, and I'm okay with that. I told her I'm willing to try, but she needs to be all in, and she needs to think about that. Once we seemed all talked out, I left and let her know she can come home or stay the night there. I'm okay with either. If she needs space, she needs space. I do not and never have had a problem with that. Adults get sick of other people sometimes. I get that way too. So there we are. We put everything on the table and we're still figuring it out. I'm not going to let people know how that part works out, but I thought I'd provide a little bit of closure for this chapter. One thing I didn't put on the table though was how I knew about the hotel, since she didn't tell anyone she was going to be there. I told her I was magic. I figure it wouldn't hurt to have her thinking about how I knew these things. Finn. And the comments were still a bit all over the place on this after the update as well. Some people saying, this still sounds really suspicious about the nighty thing. Other people saying that they love a potential happy ending. And I don't know myself. It's like, yes, it does feel like it's weird, but it's something that I could see myself totally doing, getting that alone time in a hotel. I think there's nothing quite like, even if I went to a hotel literally like 2 minutes down the road from me or whatever, it's just getting away from your house sometimes and just being somewhere completely different. I really like that feeling. But obviously not telling your partner about it as well, knowing the suspicions it could cause, etc. Would you go down that road? Is something really going on? I don't know. What do you guys make of this one? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. So our next story comes from Cold Bookkeeper 4728, who says, "Am I the arsehole for taking the diamond out of an heirloom ring from my girlfriend's engagement ring? Throwaway. I swear I have no clue whether I'm the arsehole or not. I, 28 male, have a 32 female sister and a 37 male brother. My grandmother left my mother her diamond engagement ring. My mother always said she would leave the ring to my sister, 32 female, but my sister recently told her that since she has an engagement ring from her husband and she's not really into jewelry anyway, why not leave grandma's ring to one of our brother's kids? My sister is child-free. A couple of months ago, I told my mum I was supposed to propose to my girlfriend. She offered me Gram's ring to do it with. My girlfriend was amazed at the size of the rock, but didn't like the ring. It was a traditional solitaire setting in white gold, and asked if we could take the diamond out and use it in something more modern. She picked a new platinum setting with a couple of smaller diamonds, and I was glad to save money. When my mother found out, she was surprised but not upset, and asked if she could have the setting back. The inside was engraved with my grandparents' initials in a message. I didn't have any use for it, so I said sure. This weekend, my fiancé and me and my sister and her husband were visiting our parents for Father's Day. My sister was excited and asked to see Missy's ring. When my fiancé held out her hand, my sister had a surprised Pikachu face and said she thought I was proposing with Gram's ring. I told her it was Gram's diamond, and she said, "Oh," and that was it. On Sunday, I noticed my mother was wearing the old setting, but it had a blue stone, a sapphire. I asked her what that was about, and she said my sister took it to a local jeweler and had the new stone put in and gave it to her as an early birthday present. My mum was all happy she could still wear the setting, which she'd missed having on her finger. She used to wear it all the time. I confronted my sister later that night and asked her what her problem was. She said nothing at first, but I kept pushing, and finally she said, look, if I knew you were going to mutilate Graham's ring, I wouldn't have told Mum to give it to you. She said Mum should have given it to one of the nephews. Sis said that's because she assumed Mum would want to keep it during her lifetime. Then she said if all Missy and I wanted was the diamond, that was our prerogative, but the setting was a piece of family history and sentimental, and she didn't want it getting tossed aside. I thought she made me look bad and said so. She told me to get over myself. I called her a bitch. She told me if I'm getting married, I should think about growing up, and walked off. I feel like she spoiled my engagement gift to Missy. Now this is one of them ones that I'm going to have to come at my point of view as I was reading it. And I'm coming at this a point that my mum had a lot of jewelry before she passed away, and one of my brothers was looking after my mum's rings, and if he went and altered them in any way, I think we'd be pretty upset about it, because I just don't think that's something you do, especially not talking to someone. You know, if you approach the family and said, can I take the diamond out and put it in a new ring? Everyone agreed. I think that's one thing, but just to do it, I want to take the diamond out because it's a nice diamond, and then discard the bit that has the engraving on it that's more sentimental in some ways. It's just completely something else. And what did your sister do wrong in this? Why are you so upset about it? You showed her the ring with a diamond in it, and she just said, oh, and that was it. She didn't argue with you. She didn't say anything. She was clearly a bit upset that you went down this road, probably for the same reasons that I'm thinking. Maybe, maybe not. And she made use of the part that you pretty much discarded and turned it into something that your mum would love. And then clearly you got a bee in your bonnet about it and think she's up to something more. And it kind of felt like to me that you knew what you did was wrong. People might correct me on that one, I know. And therefore you're upset at your sister because she's realized that, and you think that she's having a dig at you by turning that ring into something else for your mother. That's kind of the way it felt to me in this one. So I will say, yes, you are the arsehole. But Denuvial says you're the arsehole, OP. You took what you wanted and threw a tantrum because your sister did something nice for your mum so that she could keep wearing her mum's ring. Info. Why are you so upset they got a new stone in the setting if you didn't want the setting? A1 sourced replies to that saying because he's tired of her always saving the day and treating him like a little kid, according to his comments on this post. Seems like there was no problem until he made it a problem. Edit. OP, your sister did a nice thing for your mum, and that made you mad. Why exactly? You should have been happy that your sister found a good use for the part of the ring that you didn't need, and it made your mum happy. It was literally a win-win situation. You got pissed over nothing. It was extremely childish. Your sister is right. This kind of behavior is not a good sign in someone making the kind of long-term commitment that marriage is. You need to grow up and start thinking about other people, not just your own fragile ego. Deepwood says you're the arsehole and your mother and sister were amazingly restrained until you pushed the issue. This is all on you. Whittly Werp says, and quote, she made me look bad, and then says, nope, you made yourself look bad. She made herself look good. You clearly missed the sentimentality of the piece and just plain old dropped the ball on asking Mum if it was okay to reconstruct the piece. Of course, Mum seemed okay with it after the fact. What else was she going to do? Wrestle the ring off your girlfriend's finger and demand it be put back together? Mum and your sis handled this with grace. You were at best clueless, then made a Pikachu face when you pushed your sister for doing something nice for your mum and didn't like her answer. You're the arsehole. Professor Plum Did It says you're the arsehole. When a piece is an heirloom, you need to fucking ask before you alter it in any way. Also, your sister didn't say anything to you. She just did the decent thing, which I'm not surprised you didn't recognize, by having a new stone put in so that your mother wasn't left with an empty shell of something she loved left to her by someone she cared about. You are the one that made it a big deal, and you made yourself look bad because what you did was bad. You and your fiancé may have seen the ring as something you could pick parts off of, like a car in a junkyard, but to your mum, that was a memory of her mother that you basically shit on. Now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. Do any of you guys have your own heirlooms out there? How would you feel if this kind of situation happened to you? A relative took it apart or whatever. How would you feel about that? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, would love to hear them. And let's crack on with another story. And our next story comes from FunReindeer4743, who says, am I the arsehole for saying that the reason why I don't want to visit my mum is because it hurts to see her happy with her new family? My mum, 37 female, and I were deeply close. She used to say that I'm her joy and pride. I'll turn 17, male, tomorrow, and I've decided that I no longer want to go to her house to visit her and her real family. Some context. My mum had an affair when I was 9. She left my dad because she fell in love with a married man, and the man ended up divorcing his wife and moving in with my mum. My dad had custody of me, and my mum was granted to have me on weekends. She seemed happy to have me and always treated me well. Her husband treated me well too, though sometimes he tried to make me respect him as a dad. As my mum's husband's ex-wife wanted nothing to do with the 3 kids they had, 18 male, 17 female, 12 male, my mum started spending more time. Because her husband had full custody, she sometimes acted more like a mother to them than to me. She would pick them up from school. Never did that for me. She celebrated their birthdays while she was just a guest at mine. It was hard because it felt like I was gradually losing my mum. During her custodial, she was great, but she never tried beyond the minimum when it wasn't her time. I had a swimming competition in 2019. It was at school, but she didn't show up because it was on Wednesday and her stepdaughter had an activity at school. She tried to compensate for it later, but the scar was left there. It isn't healthy for me to be at her house. I suffer a lot when I'm there because they get to have my mum 100% and I only have her on weekends. They also have a 5-year-old son. It sucks seeing them play the happy family, and even if her husband has treated me good, I see nothing but the man that destroyed my home and hurt my dad. Just last weekend, I went to her house and told her it's not healthy for me to be at her house because it hurts me to see her that happy and I can't. I also talked about the time she missed events because it wasn't her custodial time, so I let her know that I'm never coming back. I also said that as long as she is in this family, we can't have a relationship because I'm afraid they'll make her choose and she'll pick them over me like other times and I'll be hurt again. She started crying and said that it wasn't the message she was trying to send. She said she never meant to make me feel cast aside and that she was picking them over me. She said that I can't do that because I'm her baby, and I told her that isn't her choice to make. She called me every single day saying that she hasn't been capable of sleeping and wants to see me talk. Her husband and kids are calling me the arsehole for making her feel guilty from something unintentional. But I made my choice and my dad has my back. Even if sometimes need the fire, you've got to keep your distance for safety and not get burnt. No, and I can't blame you in this for having very valid feelings about the situation. You know, she can start crying and say what she wants, that she never meant to make you feel cast aside, but the fact is, she did. She chose to do those things that made you feel like absolute shit. And I never quite understand in situations like this how people can not have empathy towards one another, especially your own child. You know, you've gone to a new family and you're looking after all these kids now. How does your bio child see that? What are they thinking when they see you with this other family? How are you not thinking that? That's what I don't understand. And you know, I would get it. Your mum would be upset at this situation. Who wouldn't be upset being told by your child that they felt neglected by you and they don't want to be around you anymore? Of course, that's going to be an upsetting experience. I know the stepkids are part of this mess as well, and it sounds like in some ways have had an easier ride than OP. But how did they know about this information and calling you the arsehole, and the husband as well, another adult in this situation, shitting on OP for their very valid feelings? And whether it will happen or not, and whether it's healthy for OP or not, I do wish in some way that they did build a relationship in the future with their mum, but on their own terms, of course, and mum makes a real effort towards OP. It just breaks my heart from them that they said at the very start, you know, the mum and OP were deeply close, and he remembers the memories of her saying her joy and pride and all this kind of thing. And it's got to be hard for OP as well, especially going no contact with someone. We say no contact a lot on Reddit and in these stories, and it can't be just that easy to cut someone off like that. And I know I get people time and time again in the comments saying, oh yeah, I can cut someone off just like that, which is, you know, fair play to you, but I know myself that I couldn't do it just I click at fingers like that. No matter what I say, there's lots of grey areas. But whatever happens in this situation, I wish the best for OP, and I hope that they make the best choices for themselves, what's good for them, for their own mental health going forward, because you really deserve what's good for you. But Dr. Malik says not the arsehole, she made her choice, repeatedly to pick her stepchildren over you. You cannot control what others do, but you can control your response to those actions. All the best. I have no time for cheats, so I have less than zero sympathy for your mother and her new husband. Gita says, not the arsehole. You are handling this hurt in a very mature way. Kudos for that. When she suddenly realized you were cutting ties to her because of her behavior, that's when she suddenly decides that you're her baby and she never meant to treat you that way. Did she never realize how shunned you'd feel if she didn't show up to so many of your life events? She seems pretty selfish, cheating on your dad, then the way she treats her stepkids. Ugh, I feel for you. Mrs. Jingle says, not the arsehole. When in doubt, pay attention to her actions, not her words. She talks a good game, but her years of treating you like her last priority have caught up with her. Don't let your mum or her family gaslight you into believing that you are wrong or you have to accept it. You have every right to feel that way, and it reflects on her failure as a mother and a wife, not on you or your dad. Kudos to you for putting yourself first. Your mum should be proud, as you probably learned that from her. Nora says, not the arsehole. It's not accidental that she chose to do the bare minimum and miss important events in order to be there for her stepkids instead. Words are meaningless in the face of actions, and her actions speak loudly. And one more from Dinko from the North, who says in quotes, her husband and kids are calling me the arsehole for making her feel guilty for something unintentional. Sure, because it's easy for them. They have the idyllic life with your mum, so they're basically telling you to switch off your feelings. Also, the something unintentional is, by extension, your mother started an affair all those years ago. So no, not the arsehole. You can't just pretend to be happy around her and her family, to whom you unintentionally always play second fiddle. How many wheels does this wagon have? No idea, but you're detaching yourself from a structure that's moving absolutely nowhere. Good for you, OP. Now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? What would you suggest to OP? Would you be able to cut contact just like that? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, support, and time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for sharing, getting involved, communicating with each other, and being nice to one another down in the comments as well. I always love to see it. I'm blessed with a community like you guys, so thank you so much for creating it and being a part of it. And if you'd like your pet shared in the next Pet Tax Tuesday, as I said at the very start of the video, all you got to do is message me on Twitter at Narrations with the hashtag PetTaxTuesday, and we'll try and include it in the next episode. Thank you so much for being here today, guys, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care, and much love to you.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go, see the sun shining from the windows. Okay, I know that today